Caitlyn Clark has taken the WNBA and the world of female basketball by storm. After all, she is single-handedly changing the world of female hoops as we know it. But in the shadows and all the way on the other side of the world, a girl is slowly preparing herself to dethrone her. And at the top of her 7'3" frame, she is getting ready to dominate the WNBA like no one has ever seen before. You don't want to miss this. Because over the next few years, some very big changes are going to happen to the WNBA, and all are headlined by one person. That's why today we're covering the story of the 7'3" monster that all of WNBA are fearing. Hailing all the way from China, Zhang Ziyu is the basketball sensation of the moment. Her name is in the mouth of every female hoops fan, and projections about her future are already expecting her to have one of the best sports careers in history. And how could they not? Zhang has been dominating her competition at every single level of organized basketball that she took part in. Her main physical attribute is obviously her height, with reports placing her between the 7'3" and 7'5" marks. To make it simple, this Chinese player has always stood head and shoulders above the competition. She would have become a national figure at only 14 years of age, when she single-handedly won China's under-15 national championship with her team, as she used her frame to bully the opposition's players and recorded a crazy 42 points, 25 rebounds, and 6 blocks performance in the finals, as she just couldn't be stopped. And this would be a recurring theme for her. The following year, she would come back to the same tournament and continue her string of domination. But what people weren't expecting was for her to one-up last year's performance and score 62 points en route to win a second consecutive title. Every single Chinese basketball fan was now raving about the coming of a new star, as their social media page was flooded with support for her. This year, though, her stardom shot from being a national Chinese hero to becoming a prospect hyped up by people all over the world. All of this happened during the 2024 FIBA Under-18 Women's Asia Cup. People all over China couldn't contain their excitement as their star girl was finally having her first appearance for the national team. And she made sure to surpass every single expectation that people had for her. The first game of the tournament was going to be her first time wearing the Chinese national jersey. And for this reason, she came off the bench. But that would be the last time that she did so, as she impressed the world with a 19-point, 10-rebound double-double on perfect efficiency. From there, she had the team's and the coach's trust, and would truly spread her wings. In the second game, she nearly doubled her scoring output, as she dropped 36 points on New Zealand's head. In the following game, she decided to go into uncharted territory against Japan and prove that she was far better than any player who ever stepped foot into this tournament. In a performance for ages, she just couldn't be stopped under the rim. Nearly every single ball that ended in her hands ended as a scored bucket for China. So much so, actually, that she scored 44 points during that game and broke the all-time scoring record for this tournament. The hype train was now going in full motion. The 17-year-old now found herself in the final, facing one of the favorites of the competition. And that's the Australian team. And despite a 42-point, 14-rebound performance, that just wasn't enough to lift her team toward the title. And it's not like she didn't give it her best either. Because with 4 minutes left in the game and with her team being down only by 5 points, the Chinese coach decided to pull Zhang out of the game. And from there, the Australians went on a 13-3 run to seal the game. As you can see, Chinese fans all over social media heavily criticized this move, because it not only threw their chances of victory away, but also stopped them from seeing their favorite player on the court. Ultimately, Zhang wasn't given the opportunity to win the game for her team, but still, she was named to be the tournament's MVP. Even more than this, she won the hearts of millions of fans, both in China and all across the world. Oh, it's not just about her abilities as a basketball player. Zhang is quickly becoming a sporting icon all over China, in a fashion that's kinda similar to what Yao Ming had going for him in the early 2000s. And given the amount of hype surrounding her, she could very easily be the next big step that the WNBA has been looking for. After all, we can all see the giant difference that Caitlyn Clark has made this season to the WNBA's popularity all across the USA. TV ratings and viewership numbers are going through the roof, while WNBA arenas are fuller than ever. But this is nothing compared to the impact that Zhang Ziyu could have on the league. What you need to realize is that the Chinese market is nearly 5 times bigger than the American one, and that any product that works there is destined for success. Just take a look at how it shaped the NBA over the last 20 years. After Jordan's success in the 90s, the NBA was now a global league, watched by people all over the world. This helped basketball become a much more played sport and gave us some of the biggest stars who played in the 2000s. One of them was none other than the Chinese giant Yao Ming. Now, Yao brought with him to the league more than 1 billion new fans, and that helped him win the All-Star votes in every single season of his in the league, even when he was injured. I know what you might think, that was more than a decade ago. But the thing is that its effect is still felt to this day. The NBA's yearly revenue in China now exceeds the $5 billion mark. To give you a perspective, the WNBA's combined revenue for all its teams last season was a bit over $200 million. Now, we all know that with Caitlyn's arrival, this figure will evolve, but Zhang's potential arrival to the league should be celebrated by every female player in the league, because then they might finally start earning the wages that they dream about. But on the other side of the coin, Zhang would bring a new era of never-seen-before domination to the league. After all, if she does make it to the WNBA, she would become the tallest player to ever step foot on their court. Add that to her innate talent with the ball, and you have the formula for a monster who's ready to dominate for the next decade or so. And just in case you were doubting her, just look at the numbers that Angel Reese is putting up every single game. She's redefining the center position in the WNBA, and that's with her being 1 entire foot smaller than Zhang. What's making people even more excited for the future is her attitude towards playing basketball and the constant training that she goes through. In an interview that she gave recently, she showed how humble she is by not bragging about her performances and instead claiming that her height is nothing but a gift. She recognizes that her height and her ability to touch the basket are not everything in this game, and she's ready to give her all to become great at it. Oh, and her commitment to success doesn't stop there. Some users online pointed out that she very rarely jumps on the court, and well, these are special instructions from her training staff to make sure that her career lasts as long as possible. Despite still being 17, she is already thinking about the long-term impact that too much movement could have on her knees. If that's not a sign of maturity, I don't know what is. One thing is for sure though, and that's the fact that she promised a very bright future. Still, given the fact that only players above 22 years of age are allowed in the WNBA, its players still have quite some time to prepare for her arrival. Every center in the league better start bulking up from this instant, or they'll be in for a rude awakening.